and welcome to Real Estate Connections podcast. And today I want to talk with you about Ryan Hegarty. Ryan is somebody I was listening to on social media, and he announced that he had just moved his parents and that it was the hardest thing that he had done. And I thought, well, Ryan is a moving professional. If anybody should be able to kind of help people in transition, especially people close to you, then it should be Ryan. And so I called him and said, so what's the story? And you're going to hear his perspective. And it's a really, really beautiful story. Not only did we talk about moving, but we talked about how we best serve our clients. And his wisdom was fantastic. We best serve our clients by listening. And to me, that was just worth the whole conversation. I hope you enjoy this conversation today with Ryan Hegarty. Ryan, welcome. I'm so glad to see you.
Yeah, appreciate you, Mary. And thank you so much for the opportunity to hang out.
Oh, of course.
And, always appreciate your support on LinkedIn and Instagram and all that good stuff. And glad we could connect. I think that this topic is, pretty common. And I think a lot of folks my age are going through this situation. I think me being a mover makes things a little bit easier, but it's still a lot of work. So happy to kind of talk about it and hang out with you for a little bit. This is great.
Great. And so Ryan has had the opportunity and challenge to move his parents 2 times. So Ryan, walk us through, kind of the first move, because that was a really big thing, what you did with your parents in 2016, I think?
Yeah. So basically, we're winding the clock back 11 years now, which is crazy. So basically, I've been I'm with Olympia moving, and I've been with Olympia for 16 years. In 2016, that was year 5. And I was relatively new into an office role. I started off on the trucks, hurt my back, ended up in the office, and it was one of the best things that's ever happened to me, and it's changed my life for the better. I love Olympia. So in 2015, Olympia was growing, and we had an opportunity to expand. And I was, kind of brought into the situation and said, hey, look, my plan was to buy my parents' home, right? And I was 25 at the time. And my plan was to buy their home in the condition it was in, and it would help them financially. We get them into a smaller place. I would have an investment property, all that fun stuff, right? Great plan. And I was sharing this with my boss, and he said, hey, that's awesome. And that sounds really cool. But Olympia's growing, and we're looking to open up another location, and you're one of the people we have in mind to go get it started from the ground up. And, that was very humbling. I never would have thought myself in that situation, right? And so we had that conversation. That was May of 2015. And I just said, I'm taking this. I can't live in Waltham my whole life as much as I love Waltham to death. I have to experience the world and go do something. So anyway, after that conversation, I started to kind of switch gears. And I said, whenever I get offered this, I'm going to talk about it, and I'm probably going to take it. So fast forward 4 months, I said, we're going to open up in Philadelphia. You're our guy. I said, I'm going to do it. So at that point, I kind of developed this plan to help my parents sell their home in the condition it was in. And so that was kind of a big change. And we talked about this briefly last week, where I think the biggest thing that happened in this is how quickly it goes from me being the child to me being a key decision maker in my parents' life to help them using my resources. And it's just really crazy how that happened. So, it's 2015, September 2015, I said, look, we're going to use my friend James as the realtor. We're going to sell in the condition it's in. You're going to start looking at places here. I'm moving next April, et cetera, et cetera. And we kind of developed this plan, and everything worked out. And it's, we all worked together and made it happen. So that's kind of like the beginning story of what led up to the move, right? All of the kind of the emotional things and the logistics that happened with it. And that move was basically going from a single family, our childhood home in the Cedarwood area, Waltham, and they moved to a 2-bedroom. So that move was a little bit different, a lot of trash, right? Just downsizing, donating, cleaning out. And then the move was, a very local, Waltham to Waltham move, very minimal things. So that was kind of more emotional because it was our childhood home, my childhood home. I stayed in the home for a day after that by myself and just kind of soaked it in, and then moved them the next day. So that was kind of the first phase. And the most recent phase, Mary, was, they've been in this apartment since 2015. And, they love Waltham, just get a little pricey. And we're in Billerica. They want to be a little bit closer to the girls. And, my mother said, hey, look, we're going to start looking for a place in February and we're going to look in Billerica. Great. And, I really commend my mother on all this process because it's just a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And I think as a mover, the moving part, actually executing, putting stuff into the truck and bringing it to the new place, that is the easiest part of the whole thing. And I'm lucky I have great crews and great systems and a great company. That's the easy part. But just watching my mother look for apartments, go through the process, find a place, do that, start to declutter, pack, make decisions, it's exhausting. And she did it. She crushed it. And then I went in and kind of helped, like packed up her kitchen and all that type of stuff, easy stuff. But it just really put into perspective. It's very easy for a mover like me to get desensitized. We do this every day and we deal with the same questions and situations, and we're really good at problem solving. But putting me into this position, watching my parents and me being the quarterback, it just made me appreciate how great our crews are and how hard moving is. And
It's
it's a
very
lot.
hard.
So,
Yes, and you're talking about the transactional side of moving as being the easier, and the emotional side is being really, really difficult.
mhm,
So I can imagine your mom and dad were probably in that first house in Waltham for a long time, right? Raise the kids there, right?
yeah, I think
Because
it
it
was
and
20, probably 15-ish, 15 years, something
15,
like that.
15 years. And so what was the process in terms of kind of letting go of stuff? You know, that
Yeah. So that was, and, you know, my mother's like me, right? We both love to buy clothes. And, they've been in the home for 15 years, right? So stuff accumulates. We had a big unfinished basement. When you have space, you fill it. I see it every day, right? And so, making decisions, and I definitely could have done a better job at that time. I was probably too, my heart was in the right place, but I was probably kind of forcing the issue a little bit too much. I think in retrospect, bringing in a move manager or a third party to kind of like work with
mm,
my parents would probably be a little bit easier for her and for me. But, it was honestly like this is what happened. It's I made a plan and we started, okay, great. We got some buy-in. And my dad just like, look, if you can do this, this, and this, whatever you need. So my dad signed off on and just put his trust in me, which I really appreciate. And then with my mother, it wasn't that she was challenging. It's a home full of stuff, a home full of memories. It's a lot. And we're like, hey, it's April. We want to get the home on the market in May for the spring market, and we got to do this. And it was too much, right? And she just said, like, look, I can't do this right now. And,
mm,
I was a little frustrated. And then what happened was that she, had a medical situation which came out of nowhere. And, she was in the hospital for a month or so. And that basically transformed into, okay, we need to have people come by to do the treatments and all that type of stuff. And she's like, look, like the place is, not how we want to present it to the public, to someone. And I'm a little embarrassed. And I said, look, mom, I love you. I'm cleaning the house. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to make it happen. And we did it. So that event, that's how things happen for a reason, right? It's crazy where that happened. And that just kind of was the domino that kind of led to, okay, let's start to clean, let's start to declutter, right, start to part ways with some of this stuff. And we took our time and worked through it and sold the house in October or something like
hmm.
that. So that was
Good.
very emotional, very emotional.
Yeah. Good. So, what I've talked with other service professionals about is the concept of being in partnership.
Mhm.
And you are young. I mean, when you were 25 when the first move happened, and then in your 30s for the second move. So that's a very young age to kind of assumed that role, I think, as partner and professional. You were both professional. And it sounds like your dad had his head really on straight in terms of what could be done. And I love your respect for your mom and what she went through and the decision making. Because typically in a family, the women are the nest creators, right? Typically, not always, but and we are always looking out for the nest
Mm.
and what makes it comfortable. I also love the concept of my house doesn't look like the way I want it to look when the caregivers come in. And how generous of you to see that and to rectify it so that she did become comfortable getting her treatments, which are critical to your treatments as well, as really as well. So, so they trusted you in 2016, right? 2016, and they've been living in an apartment, and then recently just moved into your neighborhood, I believe, right? So
Yes.
for the listeners, Waltham is a suburb of Boston and lately is just growing gangbusters.
Oh, yeah.
Growing gangbusters, lots of tech, lots of service industry, but fascinating to see these towns that were largely residential with, with the commercial stuff along 128, but
Mm.
now become such a powerful place to be.
Oh, yeah.
Restaurants, unbelievable, and then Billerica, which is the town two towns over, right? Two towns over from Waltham. Mm,
Probably, I mean, you got so Lexington,
yes.
Burlington, so probably like three or four
Acton.
Bedfords
Yeah,
in
oh,
there. I
so
think
3
three
or
or
4.
four.
So it is a distance, maybe 20, 25 minutes or something like
Yeah.
that. And how wonderful that the timing of the need to move, a desire to move, fits so nicely within your family planning because you have
Mm.
2 little girls.
Yes.
And how wonderful to have grandparents nearby as well. So this is just really fascinating to me. And I like the concept of the partnership
Mhm.
the partnership with your parents. Did you feel like you were a partner to them, or did you think like I'm just going to push it through?
No, it's, I think that, I mean, there's certainly times where, again, my mother, like I think a lot of people like me, can be stubborn in her ways, but like what I give them credit for, and it's really all the credit is to them. They created me and I learned a lot from them directly and indirectly. And I think like they know that I have their best interests in mind. And they know, like when we were living in Waltham, it's like, look, a great house in a great location. It's just, it needed some work and life is busy. I mean, I can only imagine. I have, 2 little kids now. Work is very busy. There's a birthday party every 5 minutes. It's hard to stay to keep with it. It's a lot of work.
It
And
is.
so, seeing the situation plus me moving away, which they were, in complete support of. And I
Mhm.
just said, look, like I don't want to leave because I'm going to go to Philly for a minimum 3 years. That's what I said. That's what Olympia asked me, 3 year commitment. I was there for 5. And so I just said, look, I don't want to leave them there when, I came back a lot. I probably came back 3, 4 times a year, Mary, but they need to be in a better situation. They need to be ground level. They need to get rid of some stuff and they need a restart. So that was kind of the main motivation behind it. But no, we worked together. I mean, especially after my mother's situation, I just said, "Look, Olivia, like this is what we have to do. I'm going to do it. You got to trust me." And that was it. And we made it
Terrific.
happen. But it just was a quick funny thing though. It's my even to this day for this recent move that happened 2 months ago, a month ago. My parents trust me with everything, which means a lot. But when it comes down to the move itself, it's, are you sure this is a 1 day thing? Do we have enough truck? Are you sure you're estimating this right? Do we have enough boxes? I'm like, Mom, I've been doing this for 16 years. I've had 1,000 rolls here. Come on, trust me in what I do. So that's kind of the comic relief of this whole situation, I
And
guess.
now they need to be on your social media saying, "This guy did it
Yeah,
so well," et cetera, et cetera. We've got a role for this. We've definitely have a role for this. Tell me about
sure.
move managers, because you and I talked a little bit about some people that are really dedicated toward the older population, and I had Mariette Frey on a podcast two
Mhm.
weeks ago, and Mariette moved on the move, and She kept reminding the audience how physical a move is, and it's
Yeah.
very, very physical. So I'm curious about this move manager, and some of the groups that you've connected with. So this company is all around the U.S., helps with military moves and international moves as well. So it's an interstate moving company with
Mhm.
4 or 5 major cities located too. So tell us a bit about how they work.
Yeah. So so move managers, or we've been working with move managers. We do a lot of work with seniors, right? And so a lot of the times when we get moves that are involving a senior, whether it's a major downsize, it's moving into life care, moving into memory care, moving into assisted living, whatever it is, the majority of those moves that we do are referred to us by a move manager. To name a large one in Massachusetts is Wendy Bulio, Renew Relocation, who is just the gold standard in this
Mm,
work. She's just an
mhm.
amazing human. There's also Annie Kilbride at Life Simplified in Philadelphia, just great humans who know how to do this work. And, you know, the one thing I think, how we connected on that post the video post I did about my parents' move, one of the things that I mentioned was it made me realize how important a move manager's role is in our society. Because I can't tell you how many times, Mary, as a moving consultant, right? So my job is someone calls in, I need to move. Oh, great. What do you have? Let's make a plan and let's do it as seamless as possible. Again, the move is easy, but there's so many times that these older folks, they don't have family to help and they
Right.
don't know what a move manager is. A lot of people still don't know what a move manager is, and they do it themselves. And we're a lot. We are involved. They get a designated coordinator who works with them, proactively reaches out. I'm with them the entire time. Our salespeople with them the whole time. But leading up to the move, like packing, making decisions on how to declutter, do you need this paperwork? Do you not need this paperwork? What about at the other side when you get to the new place? You need to unpack and put everything away and organize. It is exhausting. I think and you nailed it, what you just said.
Mhm.
Even if you're not physically picking up a piece of furniture and putting it on the truck, it is mentally exhausting. So, what a move manager does, Mary, is basically they get brought into a situation and you say it's the child saying, hey, my parents are downsizing and we don't know where to start. They've been living in the home for 30 years. I don't know, what do we do? And so the move manager will go in and meet with them and say, okay, this is what we can do. We can pack, we can declutter, we can do junk. We have a mover. You're going to use our mover. We're going to help you unpack and organize, right? So basically they're the quarterback of the move. So like Olympia, the mover would interact with the move manager. We kind of work directly with them
Mhm.
and they handle the whole thing. And I can't tell you, it's like the folks that work with the move manager and work with an Olympia or a great mover, they really get that service they truly need. And it's so apparent when folks do it themselves. It's sad. It's sad because it's we get there on move day and it's like, hey, nothing's packed.
Oh,
Or what about
tough.
this? What about that? Where do you want to put it? That costs money. That's stressful. So move managers are just godsends,
How are
the
they
great
paid
ones that do a
for?
great job.
So is it just a contract between the moving party and the manager? Is that how they're paid for? Move
Yeah,
managers?
they would work. I don't, it's a good question. I don't know the specifics. I can know that they would work directly with the move manager. They would pay them for their time. Every time that I work with a move manager, we would bill the client directly. We'd get their card and kind of do the payment there. We don't usually send like the estimate to the move manager, then they
I
send
see.
it to the client. Some folks do that, and that's super cool. There's no issues on that. But they would basically just be like the great relationship I have with, say, Annie Kilbride in Philly, it would go like this. Hey, Ryan, Joe Smith, here to here, move date. Here's the list. You need to pack the artwork. I'm packing everything else. Service the piano. I need 4 guys and 2 trucks. Done. Here you go. So, and then they work with the client. I communicate with Annie, and it's just so easy. And it wouldn't be like that. As great as we are, that pre work, that pre pack work is stuff that we don't really do, and we'd be really expensive. So the move manager is just really a necessary service that more
Wow.
people need to know about.
Terrific. It makes me our last move, which was up here, moved up from DC. It was a military. No, it wasn't a military move. Carl had already had his last military move. We did it ourselves. Oh,
One.
Ryan, I wish I had known you. We did it ourselves, and it was difficult. It was
Yep.
really, really difficult. And it was one of those you do it yourself with the containers outside, and
Yep.
I don't know. I was just listening to a podcast where AI was brought up in conjunction with the service, and I've come to believe that there's no substitute for the professional's experience
Hmm.
with the service.
Hmm.
Oh, you can move yourself. Oh, you can make yourself your own Disney tour, et cetera, et cetera. And there's you can sell your own house now, whatever. So I'm sure that there's a place for all of that.
Hmm.
But I would say the average person is really going to open some doors, some problems, and we did. We had beautiful furniture that we packed ourselves that came apart. I mean, beautiful furniture, and we just packed it wrong
Yep.
and things like that. But apart from that, I wish I had known you. Um, the when I was going to ask you too about so competition would be for you self-moving companies, the you do it kind of yourself thing, and I remember we did it because we thought there was a major contrast in terms of the cost, and it was
Hmm.
interstate move.
Yep.
What do you say to people when they say, "Oh, I don't know that I can afford that?"
Yeah. So I would say the self-moving solutions, Mary, it's a good solution, right? You have pods, you have pack rat, you have ABF, and those are situations where they provide the equipment. So they provide a container and you can load it yourself. You can get moving blankets with your pod, with your pack rat, right? And you can load it yourself, or you can hire a moving company to load it and then to unload it. And I would say, like, are they? I wouldn't necessarily call them a competitor, because the service that we provide is just so different. If
Mhm.
you want to do it yourself, again, moving is expensive. Life is expensive. I get it. Every time I talk to a client, I'll say, look, any way I can save you a couple bucks, let's talk about it. What can I do to help you through that? Let me know what you need and we'll figure it out. But the self moving solutions, they're certainly not for everybody. For example, I spoke to an individual, they were moving, it was a local move, and there was, new construction was delayed a little bit. And so they said, hey, look, we're on a 4-bedroom home, nice stuff in Wellesley. And they said, we're going to load everything into a pod and then we're going to get it delivered and we're going to offload it from the pod. I said, okay, great. And we went through it and it's a 5-bedroom home. And they said, yeah, we just need a pod. I said, hey, friend, you need 3 pods. So can they fit in the driveway? What do the logistics look like? The other big thing, Mary, with the self-moving, and again, for folks who want to do it themselves, save a couple bucks, this probably isn't that big of a deal, which I appreciate. But the liability thing, right? So if you load it yourself or Olympia loads a pod, we open up, say if you go from Boston to DC, we're in both locations, right? We load it, the pod goes to DC and we unload it. If we open up that door and there's damage or there's loss, there's no liability to us. It was stored in a third party piece of equipment. And so there's no follow through in regards to filing a claim. And pods, they'll if the container goes into the river or there's total loss, I believe that there's coverage with that, but
Mhm.
they're not going to cover you for any furniture damage. So it's I wouldn't call them a competitor. I would say, like, in Boston, there's some great moving companies, right? You have General Giant, you have Armstrong, you have Viking, you have some really good moving companies in Boston. You have other, and especially in other
Mhm.
markets as well. I would say those are the main competitors. With the self-moving situations, if folks are looking for the lowest cost option, we're never going to be the best fit. But I always say, look, anything I do to coach you through it. And if we can help you load, we can help you offload. If you have questions on stuff, like, happy
Mhm.
to help. But um, we usually don't get those if people looking for the
Yeah.
lowest cost.
Yeah, but I like what you just said, because you just said that we provide other services. It's not just we move everything or we do nothing.
Mm.
We can help you in the meantime. And for example, we both know somebody who hired you to empty their house so they could redo the floors in their house.
Mhm.
And so you put the pods out there And what a clever way to do it, because we all, many of us have wood floors and they wear out over time and we want to finish them. So that was a great solution. And I thought, well, that was great. One thing that is coming to mind quite a bit, and what we talked about at the end of our conversation last week, was this whole concept of serving your client. And I think what you said to me was, the best thing I can do for my client is to listen. And to listen, to hear what they're saying and hear maybe what they're not saying. And I was really struck by that, because good service people, in my opinion, listen, and you just there. You just
Mhm.
said it, and it was really, really true. And it sounds like you've learned that a lot, quite a bit in your business.
Yeah, and I'm lucky, and I yes, I mean that's at the end of the day, especially when we're in Boston, we're in DC, we're in Philly, we're in Tampa, we're in Austin, Texas. There's a lot of really good moving companies, and there's a lot of
Mhm.
competition. And so, when folks say like, "Hey, why should I use Olympia?" I'll say, "Well, we have new and great trucks, and our Google reviews are at 4.7 across our footprint, and our net promoter score is this, and all relevant stuff, right? But at the end of the day, it's like you want to use Olympia because you're going to work with me, or you're going to work with my teammate Dan Sheehan in DC, or Eddie McDade in Boston. Like, going back to your AI point, AI is here, and there's a lot of great things AI is doing for
You're
sure.
right. You're right.
And I think one of the things I battle with is you have companies, moving companies, other service companies, where they just have AI receptionists and whatnot, which, look, there's a huge cost savings and there's a lot of benefits. But my thought is, okay, if everybody does that, and AI is going to get better and better, I get it. But the companies that have people who are great and listen and ask the questions that they don't know how to ask, or to solve the problems that they don't know that they have to solve,
Right.
those are the people that are going to differentiate themselves from everybody else. And it starts with listening and coaching and reiterating. Because a lot of times, like, I'll walk through a home and be like, all right, great, we talked about this. You're doing the packing here. I'm going to do the treadmill. The parking permit's going to be posted here. But I just kind of like talk to myself. And I do that for me because it helps me remember everything. But it also just showcases to the client, like, oh, this dude's paying attention. Yes, that's everything we talked about. And that's how you build trust. Because again, there's a lot of great movers with a lot of great reviews and competitive pricing and great crews. But in order to get there, I have to win them over. And that's what I love to do. I love to compete. I love to say, look, you working with me, I'm going to take care of you, because at the end of the day, Mary, like, all I care about is that you're a raving fan, and you tell your
Hmm.
friends, you tell your family, you tell your realtor, you write a review, and you think about us again. And in order to do that, it starts when we pick up the phone until there's at the end of the move. If there's an issue or whatever, it's like we just take care of it. And
Excellent.
we're just very grateful that that's how we operate at Olympia.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Ryan. I appreciate so much of your time and the personal experience that you've gone through, because you're feeling it at both ends, really. More transactional, very much the inside work. Thank
Mhm.
you, Ryan. I know you're just going to continue to be as successful as possible, and enjoy the next move.
Hey, I
Thanks.
appreciate you, Mary. Thank you so much for your
Oh,
time and the
eh,
opportunity. Love the content you're putting out, and I'll see you soon, my friend.
okay, great. Thanks, Ryan. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope you found this conversation useful to you and your real estate goals. You'll find the contact information for our guests and any links they recommend you have in the show notes. And should we be able to help you identify some strong real estate professionals in your area, drop us a note at info@realestateconnectionspodcast.com. Thanks again, and bye for now.